So the plan was to talk about the Lakers, and then this happens. Demarcus Cousins signs with the Golden State Warriors. And I think we should remember before I dive into all this is there's a decent chance Demarcus doesn't play the entire year. And they're going to take their sweet time to get him back totally healthy because, of course, they don't really need him. This is just a luxury move. So, I don't know if that means really anything, but it should be worth mentioning, I guess. So first and foremost, congratulations to Golden State for winning the 2019 NBA Championship, which they were probably going to win anyway, especially with Ariza's departure from Houston. But now it's just a foregone conclusion, even more so than it already was. For the sake of basketball, I guess, I can talk about this in a serious manner other than just saying, are you actually kidding me at this point? But let's dive into a few things. So the first thing is, I think it's safe to say that this was Demarcus Cousins saying, you know what, I don't want any of these conservative offers that I'm going to get from teams, right? The 1+1 with a team option with potential incentives or whatever, or just contracts that would save teams in case Boogie's injury was just a big deal and he wasn't the same player or he wouldn't play much, whatever, right? And he saw all that, and he's like, you know what? I would rather just be on a 1-year deal where I can prove to everyone that I'm good, and then I can get all my money and I can get as many years as I want next season, okay? Now, this is, I guess, a little bit of a risk for Demarcus, because there is a chance that he's not the same player. I mean, of course, he's going to think he is, but, I mean, this is a guy who already has problems in terms of getting up and down the court sometimes, and not because he can't move, but because he just doesn't feel like it all the time. He's never in the best of shape. I do think he's one of those guys who's in better shape than he looks to be, but even then, you can still see that he's not, he gets gassed, is what I'm getting at. And, he's already slow-footed when it comes to, defending pick and rolls and perimeter players anyway, so there's a chance that this injury could leave him in a point where teams don't want to give him a whole bunch of money, but he's going to bank on it anyway. So it's a little bit of a risk, but yeah, I think there's a decent chance that he plays well this season for Golden State by his standards. He's going to play well regardless, but, he can be the guy that people expect him to be. I have no idea what his actual stat line is going to be. And then he will, he'll get his money and he'll be off of the Warriors and after this season, and that'll be it. But for this particular season, I mean, if we look at from a basketball standpoint, so the starting lineup is Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Demarcus Cousins. That is a cheat code and then some. That's an all-star team, okay? The Steph Curry, Demarcus Cousins pick and roll, pick and pop, I don't know how you defend that, because if you switch a big onto Curry, he can probably beat him off the dribble. Boogie can post up on every big guy in the NBA anyway, so if he ends up with a point guard or a wing player who may be defending Curry on him, then that's already a wash. And then you add to that, the shooting, for one. I mean, all 5 of these guys are going to be able to make shots. I mean, Draymond is still the one dude that you leave open, but at this point, you're just doing that out of desperation. And, Draymond, he might have another lackluster outside shooting season, but he'll go off the dribble, and then one of these guys is going to be open, and it's going to be three-pointers galore, right? You add to that Boogie's rebounding, because that's one thing that you could always look at as a weakness for Golden State was, well, they are susceptible to give up offensive rebounds. We saw PJ Tucker and Clint Capella do a lot of damage on the boards versus them. That's probably not the case anymore because of Boogie. Sure, his offensive rebounding has declined the past couple seasons because he's just fallen more in love with the three-pointer. But defensive rebounding-wise, he's still fine. He'll be defending centers, so he'll be around the basket, and he'll get his rebounds that way. So they probably won't give up as many offensive boards, so just throw that weakness out the window for these guys. And then An interesting thing will be when he grabs the rebound, he could take it up floor himself. So you could see Boogie going up floor, and then you have all these guys spacing the floor out for him, and I think he'll be totally fine with Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala as well, even if those two aren't as natural of outside shooters. And I guess the backup center would be Jordan Bell. What'll be interesting is how much of the death lineup do we see now? Because you're comfortable with playing Jordan Bell or Kevon Looney or JaVale McGee. Well, JaVale's not there anymore, and Kevon might not even be there after this offseason, but you get it. You're okay with playing those guys like 17 minutes a game if it means you can have all the rest of the minutes be Draymond at center. You can't do that with Boogie. He's going to expect to play over 30 minutes a game, so how often are you actually going to run the death lineup, you know? Now, it might not matter because just Demarcus may be so overwhelming that you don't even need to go to the death lineup. I mean, if this team really wanted to, they could win 75 games next season. They're probably going to win like a normal 64 or so, and then potentially sweep the whole damn playoffs. Well, you know, Houston could give them trouble. I think the Celtics could have some things to throw at them, but I mean, these guys are they were already the huge favorites, and now they're just bigger favorites. I guess, can we talk about like things that could potentially go wrong? I mean, Demarcus is their worst defensive big in a little bit. I mean, yeah, Zaza sucked defensively. Well, to his credit, he did a decent enough job on Tristan Thompson, but, you know, like Kevon Looney is okay. Jordan Bell's decent. Boogie, you know, coming off of the Achilles, Boogie could be a bad defensive big, right? But given just how good of a defensive team the Warriors are outside of him, combined with the fact that he's just going to be so devastating for them offensively, again, it's probably not going to really matter. The other thing could be if, just as a culture, if he really messes things up, like if he does his normal thing where he's the last guy to get up floor on defense a couple times a game, is there a chance that Draymond yells at him and then Boogie yells back at Draymond, and before you know it, this Kumbaya Warriors are suddenly a little more fragile? I mean, maybe, but they might just be so dominant that nothing is going to happen. But still, I mean, against a smart team, I could picture someone just attacking Steph and Demarcus all day. And you could actually have some success doing that. Now, you're not going to stop them from scoring on the other end, but meh. I feel like if I start going down the path of, well, you know, Boogie sometimes isn't the best pick and roll defense, I think I'm overthinking it at that point. Like, 5 of the top, 20 players in the league now, including 2 of them being in the top 5, are on the same team. Like, it's a joke. It's a complete mess. The Warriors are going to win in 2019, and again, I don't think Boogie's on this team past this year, but for 1 year, there's your NBA season.